I'm not scared of quantum computing. Keep the position rational. Oh, this guy was on CNBC Asia because he needed to talk to the Korean baggies. The plot thickens. I want to be the 800-pound gorilla of quantum. I want to be, all right, I'll let it myself before I say that. I just want to be an 800-pound gorilla, period. Okay, the date on this was a few days ago.
And customer lock-in is, of course, what builds the long-term value in the larger tech
Customer lock-in?
space on a global basis.
Customer lock-in. No changes yet. I mean, I consider shorting more quantum, but I'm down, so I don't like to add to losing positions if my P&L is not great. But I'll hang in there. Try not to have a drawdown. Prudence has helped me so far. 20% of float's not a lot. I've seen shorts with 80% of float. I'm not in Hims. You know, I just don't know the company as well as I know some others, so I'm happy I made some money and just leave it at that, you know. Adma's going pretty well, yeah. Yeah, no, Hims is incredible. No doubt about it. Doge is going to regulate Wall Street? I don't understand. I don't understand. The thing about the Hims Novo collaboration is they also did it with 2 other telepharmacies. So is this a special collaboration or is it just a tiny 1% marketing thing? I don't know if it's going to be profitable. So there's a lot to that I don't understand, and we may not get answers for a couple of quarters. They may have just bought Hims some time. So I'd be careful on Hims. I mean, now you're in a catch-22 because if it is a good deal, they're going to make a ton more of earnings. I definitely wouldn't ever short Hims. You don't short a stock that's growing revenue 100% year over year. Because almost at any valuation, it doesn't make sense. Now look, if they're growing revenue at, okay, let's say a company has $1 billion in revenue and they're growing 100% year over year, and you don't know when they're going to stop growing that fast. I would say I would short maybe at 300 billion market cap, that range. That's the only place where I'd feel safe. And even then, I'm not sure I'd feel safe. When you're growing that fast, you just don't be stupid. That's just, it's just nuts. And again, I'm such a conservative value investor. I should be long this thing. I know I should be. But I'm just, Ionq's not growing at all. Ionq's lying about everything. Royalty Pharma. What does Royalty Pharma have to do with Hims? Nothing. UHR? You're talking about Swatch? That's Swatch, right? Bro, that's not real revenue. Yeah, that's all right. Warren Buffett doesn't want to short. That's cool. Warren Buffett doesn't do quant trading either. Okay, I'm very happy for all the Hims owners. Again, I'd be there with you, but just I don't know the Novo deal, and they did the Novo deal with every company. So it wasn't exclusive to Hims. They did it with 2 other companies. So I get a big win like that, and one day I'm out, man. I'm out. No, CoreWeave is, look, they make, they're in the same business in a lot of ways as Azure, AWS, and GCP. But, it's a bit of a screwy company. They have a ton of debt. Buffett had an operating business. I've went through this, a week or 2 ago, or a couple of days ago. When you have that operating business, they're throwing off cash flow every year. You can afford to make lots of mistakes. And stocks can go down, or you just make more money next year and keep buying stocks with the cash flow that you made. Buffett's made a lot of mistakes over the years, but that's not, he's still the best ever. A lot of his mistakes are mistakes of exclusion. I have no idea. I think Hims will beat earnings, but I think that's already widely expected. I like this guy. Why aren't you employing AI for research? Are you new here? You must be new here. I use AI every 5 minutes. No technical analysis for me. I don't even look at the short data. Couldn't care less. I don't know if I've actually had kava, but I like Mediterranean food. I just don't know if that kind of food is smart to try to make fast. I'm not a big PEG fan, but I do think you could see PEG. DES, I guess not. Okay. I'll try to add PEG just for you, buddy. I'm not a big PEG fan, though. It's kind of a weird metric. But you're right that we should have it, at least. There's even an esoteric thing called point and figure. We should have that, too. These stocks go up and down 20% all the time. They used to, and then the volume flatlined, and now they're back to their old ways. Everybody remembers the old days when Ionq would jump up and drop like crazy. I'm also an adult. Listen, I've been trading a long time. Sometimes you're wrong, That happens too. But yeah, listen, I have no problems with the way I handle this. In a bubble, sometimes stocks take longer than you anticipate to drop. People asking Alejandro for advice in the chat. I'm loving it. Alejandro, you got to start a newsletter, buddy. Yeah, I think the metal company is a bit of a LARP. Yeah, I guess on the pair trade, short Rigetti, long Ionq. Market trusts Rigetti's CEO, who's actually pretty non-fraudulent, whereas the Ionq CEO, most people, they don't trust him at all. I was talking about 𝗥𝗎𝗓𝗏 was negative on Rigetti, but Rigetti is actually up more than Ionq. Yeah, that's bag holder dictionary.
Partially filled.
That's the bag holder lexicon, market manipulation. I should make the bag holder dictionary. Okay, the tickers really doesn't seem to work that great. I'm gonna have to readjust some code there. Just repeating the same stocks. There's supposed to be some logic that tries to prioritize stocks that are moving a lot. I started learning coding when I was 6. I used BASIC on an Apple IIe. Then I started programming on 386s, 486s.
Order cancelled.
And pretty much went from there. I learned BASIC, Pascal, C. I started doing JavaScript a little later. I didn't start working on real systems until relatively recently. Coding is it easy? Good question. I think it probably is easier for some people than others. One of the things about programming that's really important is discipline and sort of sticking to, routines and things like that. People who aren't organized or have a tough time with organization and rules will struggle with programming. There's usually a right way to do things. It's not always, but people who like to learn by experience will sometimes get into programming and have some difficulty working with others and things like that. It is kind of a team sport. So there's a big difference between being a hobbyist, being a professional. I was a hobbyist for a long time, and I really, the world of professional programming was very dark to me. I didn't understand it at all. And after a while, I realized, it's a very different world. I think that's right. Programming is essentially problem solving with a different vocabulary. Yeah, understanding the complexity of the data you're working with and the processing speed that your algorithm may be, exposed to is very important. Typically doesn't matter that much for hobbyists. It matters a lot for professionals. There's a lot of race conditions and things that happen with professional programmers that, organizing data in the best manner is sometimes rather difficult. There's one fun thing that a lot of, you learn very immediately, for example, is how expensive relative operations are in programming. So a print statement will often, we're storing something on disk. These are really expensive operations. If you write a for loop and you store all the stuff either printing it to the screen or storing it on disk, you end up getting this really, really long-running program that you didn't intend. And just doing the order of operations slightly differently will lead you to literally 1,000,000x speed up on a program. 1,000,000x speed up. Yeah, there's order of operations in mathematically, and then there's order of operations, kind of program-wise. I was more talking about programmatically. But yeah, the associative and left to right precedence is kind of what it's called in programming, is very important in programming and can cause a lot of pernicious bugs if you don't know how the language treats certain precedents. This takes precedence over that. It can get very ugly. I just think market conditions are good. That's a big reason why everything's up. GC is a big deal, yeah. Well, these days that GC starts to become, less important. I'm sure there's some programmers that hate for me to say that. 𝗦𝗛𝗏 is a great friend of ours and was one of the first Shkreli stream watchers, believe it or not. So he's the CEO of Replit, founder of Replit. Great friend, amazing guy. 𝗦𝗛𝗏 says you don't have to program. He's a much better programmer than I'll ever be, even in my dreams. In fact, most of the guys that work in there, including one of the guys who invented React, he's got a great team. Now, I'm gonna keep it 100. No, I think that, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I think, kind of what he calls programming is probably a little bit different from what I do. He's probably telling you that you could get away with vibe coding or something like that. And I'm telling you that vibe coding is programming, at least in its current form. He probably is looking forward to the future and saying, well, in the future, you can use Replit and other tools like Replit. I'm just a very honest guy. He's not going to, he's really one of the best people I know. He will not tell you, lead you down the wrong road. And he's usually right about what he says. He's extremely smart. One of the smartest people I know.
𝗬𝗩𝗘𝗢𝗙.
So definitely follow him on Twitter. 𝗦𝗫𝗏𝗏. He's from Jordan. And look, in essence, he's probably telling you, more provocatively, that you can probably do everything you need with something like a Replit or another system like that. And from here on out, or even as few as a year or two from now, there's just really no need to learn programming. That's certainly not the case at the moment. And then there's also, this idea that somebody needs to program advanced systems. So if you're programming hardware or you're programming the latest AI, this stuff has never been done before. Now, maybe AI can come up with and generalize new things. It's possible. We're going to see if that's possible soon. But I also doubt that the advanced programmer's job will ever truly disappear. One of the things that current AI is not very good at is context window. And the thing about large code bases is they're usually very large. And the hard thing about hard things, it's kind of hard to work with, multi-million line code base, and you may not even know what some other code at the rest of your company does. And you might need to know in some cases, you might not need to know in other cases. And there's,
𝗬𝗏𝗘𝗙𝗚.
it's going to be a little bit tricky to ever get that context into these machines. Even something like a million token context window misses a lot of things. And a million tokens is not a million lines. Really indispensable for programming. I don't know a single programmer that doesn't use AI. But I think that, yes, what Swift's saying is right. If you're really talking about advanced level programming, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Yeah, it's not dumb at all. I think Python is very, very, very easy to learn.
𝗬𝗏𝗘𝗙𝗚.
You can get up and running in Python in one day. And I recommend Replit in terms of how to get started, because the nice thing about Replit is you basically can get started right away. Whereas if you're not a computer whiz and you don't want to set up environments and do all this and that, you got to set up an IDE, you got to set up paths, you got to set up all this stuff. And yes, technically you should do it that way and not use something like Replit. But the nice thing about Replit is you get into programming, it's fun, it's quick, and there's something nice about that. For learning, the number one thing you want to do when somebody's learning something is to not discourage them. I spent a lot of time as a teacher, as you guys know, on YouTube and elsewhere, prison. And the number one thing you want to do is avoid things that get people bogged down and discouraged and saying, the second I'm out of this classroom, I'm going to forget about this forever. I don't want to do this. People say that and they do that. And that is what you don't want as a teacher. And I don't want you to quit programming because you are futzing around with installing Python 3.11 on your machine and you mess up a step or something and, it doesn't show up or pip doesn't work or, these things happen and, send you spiraling. Amjad gives you a box. It's probably some virtualized box underneath it, but he gives you a box to work on for free. And that's kind of, everything's pre-installed, everything runs. You don't have to mess around with any complicated things. So anyway, that's it's never too late to learn programming. It's a wildly useful skill because you have you learn problem solving. You get to practice problem solving, which is really important in other areas. Thinking like a programmer can help you solve lots of problems in life. Springer's given up. Springer's kind of given up on doing big stock picks. So ADP is one of the world's biggest companies, 124 billion. 124 billion market cap, 3 B in cash, 3 B in debt. They're holding a lot of their clients' cash because that's what goes to payroll, right? Everyone here has gotten an ADP check at some point in their life, right? Ackman's results are
Order
very
cancelled.
good. I was always skeptical of Ackman too.
Order
But you
cancelled.
can't knock the hustle. The guy makes money. No, I don't think so,
Order
Michael. But I'll take a look at the paper, but I doubt it. I know a lot about AI. It's going to be pretty hard for quantum to help AI. Yeah, fine tuning isn't
cancelled.
exactly a problem in the industry.
Order filled.
If you talk to somebody that worked at Google or OpenAI, I think they would tell you, well, I don't need a quantum computer for that. Yeah, I get the hypothesis. I know what they're saying when they're saying, but I'll tell you this. One of the best ways to look at this, okay, is study Sam Altman, okay? The guy,
Order cancelled.
think what you want of him, but great entrepreneur.
Order cancelled.
He's created 300 billion market cap, okay, in
Order
OpenAI,
cancelled.
300 billion. And he's very forward-looking. He's so forward-looking that he's trying to invest in nuclear power because he thinks that we're not going to have enough electricity to fuel data centers, okay? Right now, data centers are about 1 to 5% of all electricity. This guy is literally worried about not being able to get electricity at any price. So he's already investing in nuclear-powered electricity to alleviate the problem he might have in 10 years. And this guy's a billionaire. And he's investing billions into this. But then he's also doesn't have a single investment in quantum computing. What does that tell you? I don't know that energy space really well, but I doubt any of the publicly traded companies will make it. But Okrali would probably be the closest, right? Yeah, that's true. It's possible that he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not sure you should learn the theory of reflexivity. I don't know how it's going to help you. Rigetti had down rounds and had to SPAC. Rigetti was the only QC company at YC. Yeah, Sam is on Okrali. That's what I'm saying, is that because of his dominant, position in AI, he's trying to find stuff in the future like nuclear that'll solve his problems that are really far away. By the time we get nuclear or need it, so he's really kind of like almost too prepared. And the fact that doesn't have a big investment in quantum, which he easily could,
Order cancelled.
he doesn't even have a deal with any of these quantum companies. They don't use any of it. They don't want to. That's very telling.
Order cancelled.
I don't know what Dustin has done with, he's made too much money from Facebook, so now I don't know what he's doing with that. I don't like longevity, to be honest. Biotech, can you sum it up for us? Basically what I know is that they didn't submit a REMS program. Is that basically the gist of it? Meanwhile, the Bristol Myers drug that's similar did.
Order cancelled.
So they're delaying everything because they have to get the REMS program together? That's sort of the gist. But I don't understand that. Exclusivity rights to sell it because of 1 year from the date. Oh, to sell it to the partner yet? Is there some kind of relationship they have with a big pharma or something? I heard about Facebook and when it launched in 2004. It was very popular among college students, which I happen to be one. It's funny, ADP was one of the first big software companies. I have old ADP software packages on floppy disk from a long time ago. Antiques. 27% operating margin, pretty high. Yeah, I don't like looking at GAAP necessarily, but usually they're pretty close to each other. What makes a software company great? That's a great question. Certainly longevity. I think your customer has to like the software. I think that's one of the biggest things, but it's hard to say. Yeah, you could say something trite like competitive advantage, but we're trying to think of something that's really specific to software. Is it in the developers? Is it in the customer relationships? Where does that special sauce live? The business model, something that's so indispensable the customer doesn't even realize they're using it, kind of thing. Kind of like me in Excel, All software companies have high margins. But yeah, it's also trite to say growing company, high margins. Of course. That goes without saying. Programs running, I don't know. It does about 1,000 to 2,000 orders a day. So you could do the math of how many. It's basically an order a second, but roughly an order every 5 seconds time frame. On my handmade portfolio, I haven't made a trade all day. Although in the other portfolio, I did short some Ionq and Rigetti, but I'm already maxed out on this portfolio, I think. ADP is definitely like a Buffett company in a lot of ways. It's like people just use these guys for payroll no matter what. They've been the category leader in payroll for what, 40 years? Kind of crazy, right? It's like a bond that grows its coupon 10% a year. Incredible. But do you want to pay, will you pay anything for that kind of company? Buffett sort of says yes, but he's also changed his mind on that. There's a lot of people coming for ADP. Software is a little easier to make than it was before. A lot of people want to make payroll software. People are coming to eat their lunch, including some old stream members that used to watch the stream, a company called Replit. Revenue has grown 6% on average, and cash flow has grown 10% on average. Challenge Port P&L is right in front of your face. Just a little bit cheaper, I guess I would buy it. So maybe it's a good long now. I mean, imagine cash flow grows 10%. All right, in 5 years, they're doing $7 billion free cash flow. It's still 19 times earnings. I don't know. Great company, just not for me. I'll buy it if it gets cheap. But you know, the risks that someone like Replit or another processor comes in and hurts them is a risk. You can't tell the future. It's always a risk. They've been around 40 years, doing payroll forever, but
Order cancelled.
you know, it ain't